Hi and welcome back to the Teach English in China YouTube channel. My name is Laura and today's video is going to be about acing interview. You'll probably find a lot of the questions are quite similar for many teaching positions in China, and the interview process is very similar. So I hope that whatever school you are applying to, you will find some of these tips useful and worthwhile. Okay, so the 5 main points of the interview I'm going to cover today are the kind of pre-interview preparations, a little bit about the grammar questions, so possibly the scariest part of the interview, a little bit about experience and working with young children, but don't worry, you don't need to have loads of experience working with young children. I'll explain that a little bit more. A bit about training and criticism, and also a little bit about the session, the demo session, you need to prepare for the next stage of the interview. Okay, so starting with the pre-interview aspect, your interview will probably be on Skype. Unless you're planning on flying to China for the interview, this is the easiest way for it to be done. And just as if you were going for a normal interview, professionalism is really important. So make sure your Skype profile picture isn't you drunk at a rave. Make sure your name on Skype isn't something obscene or something that you wouldn't want your future employer to see. And then make sure that you turn up dressed professionally as you would for an ordinary interview. At least from the waist up, because that is what your interviewer will be seeing. Okay, so moving on to what I would say was the scariest part of the interview, the grammar questions. So I actually graduated with a degree in English language and linguistics. I did countless grammar modules, and I thought that I was okay with it, but I find that I kind of bypassed the easier aspects of grammar, and I had to Google them before my interview. Even things like present continuous, which I feel like lots of people have heard, present continuous. Just a good idea to Google to make sure that you have a definition in case you are asked. Even if you aren't asked directly, what is present continuous? They might say, how would you go about teaching present continuous to a group of 5-year-old children? So questions like this, you really want to make sure you have an answer or a model answer that you can adapt to any grammar question. So I would make sure you are familiar with some grammar terms such as present perfect, past continuous, past simple. Just making sure you have a few ideas of what you can talk about if you are asked about teaching grammar. And the same goes for phonetic rules as well. So maybe make sure you have just 1 or 2 phonetic rules you're aware of. I was asked about the magic E, so how the E at the end changes the A sound in a word. So like in make, you have the A becomes like an A because of the E. And that is the magic E rule. So just make sure you have a few things covered so you're not caught off guard during your interview. So something really important that I forgot to mention in this clip is they will also ask about games and what games you have thought of or you have played before, you have completely made up that you can play with younger children. So think of games like Hangman, Splat, any games that get the children really involved. So not only will they ask, how do you get the children involved? Which obviously a game is a way to do that. But they may also ask for specific games, so specific examples that you can give them. Okay, so the next point I mentioned is about criticism and training. So the words themselves are not that helpful, but I will explain what I mean by that. So they are putting a lot of effort into training you to the standard that they expect from their teachers. So they might ask about how you have developed in training before. So doesn't have to be teacher specific training, any training you can think of that you have undergone. It could be a good idea to just think about that before your interview. And then if they ask, okay, so if you were put in this situation where you were training for so long, What could you expect to get out of it in the past when you've done training? How have you found you've grown throughout that period? Questions like that, which again, you'll find not even just for teaching jobs, but jobs in general will often ask about that. And obviously any training you have in the past, just try and make it more relevant to teaching, so they can have a clearer idea of how you will develop in their training period. You could also be asked about how you respond to constructive criticism. So I suppose this ties in with the training. That's why I put them together, because I imagine with the training, there can be some trial and error. You know, you're delivering lessons, kind of getting used to things. If you don't have any teaching experience, it can be a big learning curve. So constructive criticism, I don't know how you feel. I think it's a really important tool for just about everything in life. Obviously very different to just flat out criticism. So just kind of take what you think about constructive criticism, as long as what you're saying is that you can adapt based on feedback and constructive criticism. Obviously that's what they want to hear, just like any employer, because it means you will not only get the most out of your training, but even after those 3 weeks, you will continue developing as a teacher based on feedback and constructive criticism. Okay, lastly is the demo session. So you will have to prepare a 2-minute lesson, as if you were stood in front of a class of, they'll give you a situation, so a class of 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds, they'll give you a quick brief. You can teach the lesson on whatever topic you want. I chose to do colours. Because you are working with younger children, it's a good idea to have something actually you're holding, not just sit in front of a class and talking. And that ties in with when they ask about classroom management and younger children, but also about teaching younger children. So they might ask about how you teach younger children. So what your approach is, what your teaching style is with younger children. Always best to be keeping it active, using tangible things, making sure the kids are getting involved, definitely not just sat and listening to like a preaching. So yeah, for your demo lesson, it's a good idea to put what you've said about games and getting the kids up, getting the kids active, waking them up at the start of the lessons. It's a good idea to show them that you can actually do that. So for instance, with colours, I cut up some coloured circles. I used them in like a game. And I ended my demo session by saying, okay, great, now let's sing a song. And I didn't have to actually sing because I didn't have time. I think that's better for everyone. But yes, the demo lesson, 2 minutes, really easy to record. I think I recorded it about 20 times to get it right and ended up using the first take anyway. So yeah, it's just to show that you have a personality suitable to teaching younger children, which of course just means very enthusiastic. So yes, I think that's something actually to bear in mind throughout your whole interview, not just the demo session. Be as enthusiastic and smiley as possible. They want to see that you can get children excited about learning English. It's hard with younger children. They obviously don't have the same self-motivation of maybe they want to work in England in the future. They're probably not going to have those goals just yet. So it's mainly based on they just want to have fun. So just making sure that they would have fun in your lessons is the interviewer's main priority. So try and make sure that they have a fun time even in your interview. Okay, so that is all the tips I have for interviewing with any school in China. Hopefully these are some transferable skills you can use. And yes, I think the main point is just be enthusiastic. Whether it's older kids or younger kids, they're still going to want you to show how keen you are, how enthusiastic you can be, how excited you can be, like just making sure you are showing your best self in the interview as you would for any interview anyway. But yes, I really hope these tips and tricks have been useful. Do comment below if you have done any interviews in China with similar questions, or maybe a question completely unexpected. I know sometimes you can be asked something like, what superhero would you be? So please do let me know if you have any experience of interviews like that. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this has been useful. Bye.